it's fine. Okay.
Okay, so let's see. The chapter on Ashtaka Varga. Do I want to do Ashtaka Varga and Navatāra first?
Okay, we're doing Gochara?
Let's do Navatāra first. Even though I put the other one first.
What is the order in the text?
You're not going to do Gochara?
Navatāra is not explicitly given. It's one of these things like how I'm delineating the rules, and he's not delineating the rules. He's just speaking, and I'm kind of delineating where the rules are coming, and you can see how what he's saying is based on these rules that I'm giving. Okay. In the same way, Navatāra, he never sits there and teaches Navatāra. He just sits there and he's giving techniques that if you don't know Navatāra, you don't understand where the information comes from. When you understand Navatāra, it all makes sense. And you missed Navatāra Cakra last week, but Navatāra is the cycle. We get 3 rows of 9 columns. And we take the moon's nakshatra and we list the first 9 nakshatras. And then we list the next 9 nakshatras. And then we list the next 9 nakshatras. So we have 3 cycles of 9, which gives us 27, the 27 nakshatras. And each of these, if you look here on page 15, the first one is called the Janma. Janma means birth. Then Sampat, which means prosperity. Then Vipat, which is not that good for health. Then Kshema, which is good for healing. Then Pratyak Sadhana. So each of these are the stars relative to the, which is in the nakshatra handout. And we went into like what each of those mean.
These are the stars which the nakshatras are referencing?
Like the nakshatra that your moon is in is called the Janma nakshatra. The second to the Janma nakshatra is called the Sampat nakshatra. So we filled in our Navatāra Cakra last week, right?
Yes.
And if you look here, now that Navatāra Cakra, when you notice, the dashas are going through each of the nakshatras with their lords, correct? We just calculated the dasha, so we understand that these lordships are coming from the nakshatras, correct? So if our janma, if you look, the example in the first one, which was my chart, was in Bharani nakshatra. Bharani nakshatra is ruled by Venus. So for the janma, it's Venus. And the period of time that was left for that dasha was 19 years, 3 months, 18 days. And the starting date was 1976, 10:09. Sun dasha is 6 years. And you can see the date it goes to. And that next one is given by Kritika, which is ruled by the sun. So Kritika's my Sampat nakshatra, ruled by the sun.
Smell something weird.
Yeah, in the kitchen. The third nakshatra, which is connected to moon, is Vipat nakshatra. Vipat is one of the negative nakshatras. The negative ones were 3, 5, and 7. And so that states that means that the moon dasha is not going to be as beneficial for me as it could be, because it's a Vipat nakshatra. If moon was my Sampat nakshatra, my moon's in the 11th house. If it was moon dasha and moon was Sampat nakshatra, Sampat's the prosperous nakshatra, then wow, would this be a prosperous dasha? But it's not, it's Vipat nakshatra. So it's giving some ill health and some trouble, even though the moon's in the 11th house. So it doesn't support the 11th house significations of the moon. It actually, it hurts the 11th house significations. Okay? So we see how this is integrated into the dashas. Now, an important thing, let's see. Jatak Parijata, if we look in the middle of page 15, right underneath the Navatāra Cakra. Jatak Parijata, 1825, says to first take into account the house lordship of the planet, then utilize the Navatāra Cakra. And Parashara, he just always talks about the 3 negative stars causing ill health. Luckily, Jatak Parijata is a little more optimistic, and it says the Sampat, Kshema, Sadhaka, Mitra, and Paramitra dashas will bring general prosperity as long as those planets have beneficial lordship. So you see how the Navatāra Cakra is giving an added dimension? One more dimension happening here. At the same time,
Shema is healing. What's Patya?
say again? Shema is healing. It's very important.
Okay, what's Patya?
It's another ill health. Yeah, it's in your nakshatra thing, a full translation of each one and examples.
Oh, okay.
But 3, 5, and 7 are each steadily increasingly negative, specifically to the health and prana. This is specifically working with the nakshatras and prana in that level. Now, there's 3 cycles of 9. Who has their nakshatra hand up from last week? Pull out your Navatāra Cakra. Now, in the Navatāra Cakra, we each have planets in various nakshatras. Put the planet in the nakshatra, in the Navatāra Cakra. So just write the symbol of that planet in there.
This thing,
Yeah. Did you fill it out with your nakshatras yet?
I did it in my notebook.
Okay.
I don't
Pull it
want
out in your notebook and just add your planets into those nakshatras. Which, if you use your Sarvatabhadra Chakra, which is the chakra that comes after that, you should already have your planets in nakshatras. So now it's just a matter of transferring it.
I'll get it.
I have my nakshatras written down, like I have my Janma nakshatra, my
Uh-huh.
Sarvata, but I'm confused with how I find out what planet. 'Cause it's
So Janma Nakshatra moon's there.
okay.
Okay. Now look at Mars. You have a printout, right, of your chart?
Yeah.
You write it into your chart, which
Just write it in there, just so you can see. Right. Like for example,
Oh, that's
if
okay.
sh-
Let's look it
in
up.
Dhanishta she has Mars, just put Mars in that second group there.
see, here's what I did. See, I could see my bad ones from the good ones. These are mine.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so you got Saturn.
That's Jad, and here's me.
Oh.
Wait, is there?
Jupiter. That's just the.
Okay, so
You're just putting the
3, 5,
nakshatra.
and
You're putting the
7.
Vimshotri Lord there, right?
Okay.
Okay. Now put what planets you have in it. Just
I
put a
got-
little,
okay.
like, just throw your planet next to that.
Okay,
Right
I see what you're saying. Okay, these are the ones that are ruling that. Okay.
there. Yeah, those are
Alright, I
the.
gotta do it in a
Which is
different
fine because this is a Vimshotri based chakra.
style. Okay.
So in a Vimshotri based chakra, we're using those Vimshotri lords.
Oh, I just go to the one that's. What if there's no planet though that?
Yeah, but put your planets in the nakshatra, not nakshatras into planets.
I'm confused. It's like,
Okay. So your sun is in Satavisha.
yeah.
You're Satavisha. Right there. So put a little symbol for your sun.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And like this, all the planets.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the first, you see there's 3 columns there, right? Group 1, Group 2, Group 3. The first group is called the Janma group. The second group is called the Karma group. And the third group is called the Adana group. Or the correct terminology is Janmarksha, Karmarksha, and Adana Marksha. Right? Janma group, the Karma group, and the Adana group. Those 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. Just a quick note for the Ayurvedic person in the room. We got 2 Ayurvedic persons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That Adana group, if we take them from the top one down, those show the 9 months of pregnancy in the womb. And any health or ill health in the Dhatu formations. Any malefics in there will show that month, the development in that month, afflictions from that planet happening. Okay. Which directly affects who the person is, what their physical health is, the whole 9 yards. You know, that ill health starting in the womb from the malformation of tissues
so you
at
can
birth.
go all the way back. Yeah.
You know, diseases caused by the mothers, you know, improper.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I thought you, yeah.
I'm sorry, can you say the same 3 groups again? I have Janma.
It's down at the bottom of the page on 15. There are 3 cycles of 9. The first is the Janma Nakshatra group. The second is the Karma Nakshatra group. And the third is the Adana. Adana means conception. So that's the nakshatra that shows conception. And then the 9 nakshatras after that are the 9, each relate to one of the months. You have any planets in there? What do you have in that last column?
In my last
You don't know yet.
I haven't gotten
Okay. We can figure out what your mom was doing. If she had a car accident, while you were in her womb, we could see which month.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you know, at this level, like what's affecting in the child in the womb is shown in that group.
Month
There.
1.
That's a way off the subject topic, but okay. So in general,
She was arguing.
huh?
She was arguing. No,
Well, when she was arguing, we should see. If she got into a big fight at one of those months, we should see it. Because it's going to cause ill formation of tissues. It's going to cause some disturbance in the development of the fetus. So any malefics there are showing that, that happening. So this shows the gunas and the arising of the gunas in the dasha. Do I have a quote? Jataka Parijata 1823 says, the guna, sattva rajas tamas, of the planet will manifest itself in the beginning of the dasha if it is in the Janma Nakshatra group. The guna will manifest itself in the middle of the dasha if it's in the Karma Nakshatra group. And will manifest itself towards the end of the dasha if it is in the Adana Nakshatra group. So right here it's showing that if the example I'm using is, let's say Jupiter is in one of these first, in the Janma Nakshatra group. The beginning of the dasha, as soon as the dasha starts, sattva will come into the person's life. If it's in the Karma Nakshatra group, it'll be a slow build, and in the middle of the dasha, that real sattva will come into the person's life. If it's in the Adana Nakshatra group, not till the end of the dasha do they get that full sattva. The effect of the guna. Saturn, on the other hand, is pure tamas, right? So in the beginning of the dasha, if Saturn is in one of these first 3, that tamas is coming in the beginning of the dasha. Okay, so you see how this is used?
Mm-hmm.
Very important for spiritual practice.
I'm not getting a seat.
Okay.
Can we take an example, say, when you want to use your chart? Because
Let's use yours.
okay.
So is that your that's your Navatāra right there, right?
Yeah.
So do you have your planets plugged in?
Yeah, I have it plugged in here.
So
Yeah.
where's your Jupiter?
My Jupiter
Yeah.
is in Sampat.
Okay, more which nakshatra is it in? Is it in the first? Sampat's going across this way. Now go down. We interpret it Sampat going across.
Okay.
What happens though, you see, because, okay, well first let's go into the group. So it's in, which nakshatra is it in? Is it in group 1, group 2, or group 3?
Oh, so Jupiter is in, it's in Shravana.
Okay, which falls in what group?
It falls in Nakshatra group 3.
Okay, so it's showing that the real effect of the sattva guna of Jupiter, when you're in Jupiter dasha, only the last 3 antardashas. That's where the real sattva, the blessing of the sattva of Jupiter comes in.
All right.
Those other 3, it's going to be a slow increase to get to there.
Okay.
Because you're going to be in Rahu first, and then, that Rahu, it's going to take a whole lot longer for that tamas to wear off because of that.
So then, if its effect is in the last 3 antardashas, and it's in the mitra
The
portion?
the guna will be strongest in the last 3 antardashas.
Okay.
This is showing the guna. That's the Jatakarjata specifically says guna.
Okay, and so if it's in the mitra portion, that means there should be some prosperity. But if it was in, say...
Now that's a little different.
Okay.
Okay, that right there. From that direction, we're not looking at the planet in this way. From there, we're looking at the planet. If you see down, there's a planet. Which planet is ruling the Sampat nakshatra?
Right, okay. Is Jupiter.
Okay, so in that dasha, there'll be prosperity.
Okay.
Now, so after the Sampat, after Jupiter is Saturn. Saturn's ruling the Vipat
Right.
nakshatra. So that's showing that in Saturn there's going to be a little more health and suffering from health-related things. It's going to be a tougher nakshatra.
Right.
It'll be a tougher dasha.
Right.
And it's Saturn on top of it. So that shows, instead of, evening out Saturn's harshness, it's toughening up Saturn's harshness.
Okay.
So the 2 different ways to use that.
Okay.
Because the thing is, in this, we're only going to get through the Janma nakshatras using Vimshotri dasha. There's another nakshatra dasha called Tribhagi
Right.
dasha. And Tribhagi dasha actually breaks down, and it's similar to Vimshotri, except you go through all the nakshatras in 120 years. Where with Vimshotri, we only actually go through 9 nakshatras in 120 years. But that's a different, Okay. So 2 different ways that we're utilizing that. That's Navatāra that we learned last week. Okay. Now I guess we'll do Gochara.